Today I'm going to talk about guitar pedals. Why, you ask? I'm not quite sure, but I've never talked about them before. I've never been much of a pedal guy. When I was in No Means No, I didn't use any pedals apart from a tuner, and that wasn't even a pedal. If my guitar was out of tune, I would simply walk to my amplifier head and unplug my guitar, plug it in, tune it up, plug it back in, and that was that. But over the years, I've found a use for them, mainly at home, sometimes live with two pinned in and other things, but mainly at home and mainly for recording at home to make my guitar sound a little different or a little nicer, a little something. Still kind of a weird thing for me. I know, odd coming from a 62-year-old. You think I would know better by now. Anyways, I'm going to show you the pedals that I use on a pretty regular basis on my pedal board, which I made from a wooden plank that is on our rooftop terrace. It's a long story. Anyways, pedal number one, the Boss tuner pedal. Now, I wish we had these in the days of when I was touring around. A great thing, a fantastic invention. I mean, yeah, it works like a regular tuner, but of course when you click on it to turn it on, the sound stops going to your amplifier and everything's quiet and you can just tune up, and when you're done, you click and your amplifier's on again. So that's great. I saw this for the first time when Martha Wainwright came and played a show in Amsterdam about 10 years or so ago. And I saw she was tuning, I saw her tuning with one of these pedals on stage. I thought, brilliant idea. I was a little late to the game, but yeah, it's my life story. Okay, next up, this is a new pedal. So I got this last November in Paris, of all places. It is an Octave pedal. Why would I need an Octave pedal? Of course I don't need an Octave pedal. It is absolutely something that was a treat. Yeah, what it does, it takes your guitar signal and puts it up an octave or down an octave, or both if you should so wish. And yeah, it's a great thing. It's fantastic. It's a sort of it's the OC5, it's the follow-up on the OC3 and the OC2, or so I have read. And yeah, it's really fun to play with. And yeah, I get lots of groovy sounds out of that. Next up on the board, and I'm doing this in order here. So Chromatic tuner first, guitar goes in, goes through this, if I have it on, which isn't that often. And then I've got a tube screamer, and it doesn't say tube screamer on here, and I've never had a proper Ibanez tube screamer. Still, there are a zillion clones out there, and this is one of the cheapest ones, and also one of the best clones, so I have heard. And the only reason I have it is because A, it was super cheap, and B, it boosts the mid frequencies quite a bit and adds a little bit more grit to the things that come afterwards. Well, what comes afterwards, you say? Well, that is the mighty Rat. This is a great pedal. It is a classic. A zillion people have these things. You can make it totally dirty and nasty and fuzzy and all kinds of things, or you can turn it right down and have a really nice kind of overdrive pedal. And yeah, they're solid as a rock. They're great. I think everyone should have one of these if you're into pedals. That's what I think. Finally on my board is kind of an oddball. Now, I got this pedal, I guess about 3 years ago, I guess. It cost about 30 bucks, or 30 euros. And this is it. And it doesn't look like it did when I bought it, because I stripped off all the paint because it was so fucking ugly. It is a Joyo American sound pedal. Now, this is based on a pedal by a company called Tech 21. And they created a series of pedals that were meant to represent famous amplifiers, and this one was supposed to represent a blonde Fender amp, like a Tweed amp or something from the late 50s. At any rate, clones were made. This is the most famous of them. Super cheap, super fantastic. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Now you've got your EQ at the top, low, mids, highs. Here the level speaks for itself. But these two things here, this is drive. That's pretty self-explanatory. This is the one. This is the one. This is voice. I've put it down here as Vox because it fit the the thing better. The voice. And if you turn it all the way this way, then it sounds like a Fender Twin. And if you turn it all the way this way, it sounds like a Fender Tweed. And if you put it in between, you get all kinds of different sounds. It's super easy to use. No digital things that you have to tap and punch in. So easy to use. I usually set it about like this, and then run the Rat and the Tube Screamer clone and the other pedals through here before it goes into my Focusrite and then into my computer, and I record it in Logic. Yeah, great thing. They're so cheap, so good. So that's basically it. I do have 3 other pedals I want to show you. This one was a present from my friend Zip Gun, and it was the first pedal anyone ever gave me, and it is a Danelectro Tuna Melt, and I like Tuna Melts, and I like this pedal too. It is a tremolo pedal, and I've used it on 2-pin recordings and with Howie Reeve as well. It has, what does it have on? It has a speed dial and a depth dial, and this used to look like this, but it broke off, so I was puzzled to figure out how I could still make it work, and then I read online you can take a thumbtack and some crazy glue, and Bob's your uncle, there you go, it turns. And in the middle you have this thing that says hard and soft. Don't go there. Anyways, the difference is soft is sort of sounding like do 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 do, and hard is sounding like do 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 do. That's the basic difference. Great sounding budget pedal. They don't make them anymore, but you can find them pretty cheap. Next pedal, the delay pedal. I don't use this very often, but yeah, it's a cool pedal. I found it, I think, on the street. I might be wrong, or I picked it up at a thrift store for nothing, and this is a couple of decades ago. Yeah, it is apparently made in Japan in the 80s, early 90s maybe even. It's called a Frontline brand pedal, delay pedal, analog delay, and it used to have a little thing that said Frontline here. I never saw that. When I found it, it looked like this, and it does what it's supposed to do. And if I want to, I don't know, do the solo from Self Pity, this is the thing I can use. I can twirl these knobs and there it all goes, or make it sound like, yeah, a rockabilly thing, whatever. It's all there. I don't use a delay pedal very often, but if I do need one, this is it. Finally, one of my favorites, actually, and semi-new. This is like 2 or 3 years old, and it is a fuzz pedal. And I'm not a fuzz guy. I think of fuzz things like, I don't know, yes, psychedelic bands or grunge bands. Never really found a use for fuzz pedals until I heard this Buzzcocks album that came around, I don't know, like 2000, something like that. Self-titled album, and they used a lot of fuzz pedals on there, and it sounded great. So I thought, I'm gonna look for one, and I found this one, also cheap. I'm a cheap guy, and makes all sorts of cool fuzz sounds. But what I discovered was that depending on what tone you put into it, it really changes the character of it. So if you're using this and you turn down the volume of your guitar, you change the tone of your guitar, then it does all sorts of different things. And if you turn down the volume of your guitar, so the input into here enough, it becomes kind of like an overdrive pedal. And it's cool. It's nice and well made and hasn't fallen apart yet, which is good. And I love it. So there you go. Those are the pedals that I use. I've got a few others in the closet over there, but that's basically it. I still would love to find a pedal or an amp modeler that sounded just like my old amps, but they haven't made one yet, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, you can use modelers that are in software, for instance. I went through a long period where I tried using those, and I was never satisfied with those. But I do use impulse responses, so simulated cab sounds after this whole chain of various pedals before putting it into my computer. That's all. And hope you like this. And yeah, I don't have any sound for this, unfortunately, because they all were unplugged for me to show them to you. So that's all. Have a nice day. Fight the power. See you later.